Hey, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our webinar today on igniting early seedling vigor and growth in corn with LALRISE Shine DS. Our webinar today is being led by Chase Oswald, our Field Solutions Manager here at Lallemand, and Micon Da Silva, our Field Solutions Specialist. And now I will pass it on to Chase to start the presentation.
All right, thank you, Adriana. Just want to start off thanking everyone for being here today. Hopefully we can be able to show you a little bit what and why we're excited about this product, LALRISE Shine, and hopefully you guys can understand what you need to do in order to set up a successful program for this upcoming spring. So how this quick presentation or webinar is going to be structured is we're going to go over a quick, brief overview of who Lallemand is for those of you that don't know. But then, of course, the focus is going to be talking about our product, LALRISE Shine. Hopefully, we can articulate to you guys, how this product works, how it's going to bring value to your operation, some specification questions, and ultimately ensuring confidence in you guys on how the product is applied, and hopefully be able to put forward a really nice trialing program this year for you guys to take a look at on your own ground. So briefly starting with Lallemand, for those of you that don't know, Lallemand is a family-owned company that started in the late 1800s. Their focus then up till now has been the production of different microorganisms. And that's an important attribute of Lallemand. We have a lot of different business units now where we've diversified, but the focus is always fermenting and isolating living organisms. We're not a biostimulant. We are focused on a specific organism for a specific purpose. This slide just breaks down the structure of the company with respect to you admitting them, Adriana, hopefully. Sorry about that.
Yes,
our different business sectors. We are found in a whole host of products that all of us consume on a daily basis. Different alcohol fermentation, whether it's whiskey, a vast majority of the wines in the world are used, the yeast that's used to ferment that alcohol is a product from Lallemand. Half of the ethanol being produced in the U.S. also is another way we utilize our products on a daily basis. Of course, today we're talking about plant care, and just thought this would be a nice way to set the stage on our expertise in delivering organisms that serve a purpose in their particular market. So when we're talking about Lallemand plant care, we have a pretty extensive product portfolio. We categorize them into 3 different buckets. Today, we're going to focus on this grow category, whether that's nitrogen fixing inoculants or, our focus today being LALRISE Shine in the LALRISE product family. But we also have biopesticides, which are in our protect category, and different enhancing products as well. But again, today, focusing on LALRISE Shine. LALRISE Shine is a planter box treatment, and the active ingredient has been very specifically selected for its agronomic benefits. Among what it does in the soil, which we'll break down next, it's a very robust organism. Whether we're talking about resistance to heat, temperature fluctuations, it's a very strong, robust organism. So we know that we're going to actually get the product delivered into the ground and do what it needs to do. It's well effective and well characterized. We've been working with this particular active ingredient ever since I've been with Lallemand for 6 years now, and ultimately a really consistent performance across soil types as well. So how this product works, it is applied on seed. It first has to effectively colonize the roots, and it's very good at doing that. Forms what's called a biofilm. And so what that does is as the roots go out into the soil, this PGPR follows the roots. And that's going to help with several things. There's a symbiotic relationship between the signaling of the plant and the organism, but that's also going to facilitate an increased level of nutrient uptake through a facilitated process being around the roots, but also continuing and out through the season, following those roots, exploit the soil and gain all the nutrients that are possible. And through different chemical processes, it's going to help with the bioavailability. Primarily, or I shouldn't say primarily, the main reason Lallemand was interested in this organism was its ability to solubilize phosphorus. and not just solubilized phosphorus in a mineral sense. When we're talking, where I live in Leeds, North Dakota, we don't have a soil test above or below pH of 8. And so we know that our phosphates are primarily being tied up in a mineral form. And at high pHs, this organism does do a very good job at unlocking those calcium and iron bound phosphates, but it also works in organic matter, which is the unique attribute to this particular strain of bacteria. So whether it's placed in higher or lower pHs, you're going to be able to tap into both the organically bound phosphorus pool in your soil and also the minerally bound phosphates, which are primarily a concern at higher pHs. And it's not just phosphorus where this organism works, and we're going to reiterate this when we look at how the product performed in the field this year, but it also is effective at accessing all of the macronutrients, including nitrogen and sulfur, but then also a really proficient ability to unlock micronutrients in your soil. And that ultimately are what we have seen observed in plant tissue tests from the field this past trialing season. So now from an anecdotal or qualitative perspective, what can you see in your crop when you're incorporating LALRISE Shine? And we're talking about phosphorus primarily. If you have increased phosphorus levels early on, you're going to help with the evenness of your plant stand. You're going to get that crop out of the ground quicker and ultimately set it up for increased yields at the end of the year. This was a trial I did 2 years ago at NDSU in Fargo, and it was a replicated plot, and we consistently saw an increased percentage of emergence and an evenness in stand when incorporating this product into a replicated scenario on a research front. And the ultimate yield response at the end of the year, just through this anecdotal observation, was 3 bushels. So what can you expect to see? We know that we're going to increase nutrients, but what are the actual qualitative metrics that a farmer, that you guys can observe on your crop if you're going to introduce this product into your system? You should see an increased root growth. That's going to, again, help with setting up for a successful stand early on in the season. Should see a well-exemplified increase of root hairs and root mass in digs throughout the year. And then ultimately, too, one thing is this organism is very effective at increasing your investment with respect to your phosphate. We know that a lot of that phosphate is lost to the soil and being inaccessibly bound, but this product is going to facilitate an increased nutrient efficiency metric into your system. And all in all, it's going to help with productivity, helping with these nutrient uptakes and the symbiotic relationship with the plants. So with that, Mike is going to talk about the specifics of the product and what we saw this past year in our trialing program.
Thank you, Chase. Hello, everyone. Thank you all for attending this webinar. Again, my name is Micro da Silva, and I'm the Field Solutions Specialist for Lallemand Plant Care, located in the Twin Cities area. Today, I'm very excited to be sharing with all of you some insights into LALRISE Shine DS, including these product specifications, along with some of the latest field performance observations and yield data. Starting with the product specifications, LALRISE Shine DS is a high titer, very easy to use, planter box dry seed treatment designed for on-farm application. So this means that LALRISE Shine DS can be dressed right on top of the seed as a direct application in the CCS tank or another tank of the planter. While LALRISE Shine DS can be used across many crops, for corn, which is our main focus today, it is applied at a rate of 1 full ounce per 100 pounds of seed, which means that a single 20-ounce packet of this product can treat an entire bulk box of corn seed, typically holding from 2,000 to 2,500 pounds of seed. But a very important attribute associated with LALRISE Shine DS, and which is important to mention, is its unique seed finisher. And this technology provides 2 key plantability advantages to growers. First, this unique seed finisher will eliminate the necessity for seed lubricant or talc, which will facilitate planting operations, but then it will also reduce dust off, optimizing seed flowability within the planter and therefore allowing for more accurate planting. And as we know, accurate planting is important for any grower to achieve that homogeneous stand of plants early in the growing season. And then another important feature with LALRISE Shine DS is that seed that has been treated with this product can be stored for up to 36 months in a cool, dry location. And that's important because it offers great flexibility when it comes to long-term seed management. So in this next slide, we would like to demonstrate that despite being a planter box dry seed treatment designed for applications at the farm gate, LALRISE Shine DS still delivers excellent and uniform seed coverage. And I think that this image on the right here illustrates perfectly the point that we are trying to make. So on this image on the right, we have corn seed after we apply LALRISE Shine DS into a 50-unit bulk box, and then transfer that seed into another 50-unit bulk box. And so that simple movement of the seed from one bulk box into another allow the product to naturally disperse and stick evenly onto every single kernel, providing that uniform coverage that we desire. And one thing that I've learned about LALRISE Shine DS and that really stuck with me is that this product was designed to stick to the seed and not to itself. So this means that the product won't cake up or clump to itself, which is crucial for us to achieve the uniform coverage of all the kernels. So I really like this image on the right here. But that brings us to this very interesting case study from a split planter trial that we conducted near Edgar, Montana in 2023. And what is particularly interesting about this trial is that the grower observed some nice above ground visual differences in the field and then reached out to one of our sales rep in that geography to do some plant digging. So on the top right image, you can see the results from those plant diggings, which highlight that LALRISE Shine DS resulted in healthier stands as well as larger roots. And so because the grower got so intrigued about this below and above ground visual differences, he ultimately decided to collect tissue samples and send them to the lab for a complete analysis of macro and micronutrients. So on the top left side of this slide, we have a table displaying the tissue sample results for this trial. And we can see on that table that LALRISE Shine DS improved nutrient availability pretty much across the board. So this meant better availability of nitrogen, phosphorus, sulfur, calcium, magnesium, zinc, iron, manganese, and copper, which are all very important for crop productivity. But then finally, when harvest time came, the grower was very happy to see a 9 bushel per acre yield advantage with LALRISE Shine DS compared to his standard practices, which resulted in a very positive return on investment ratio of 7 times at the time that this trial was conducted. And so I thought it would be nice to share this case study with all of you because it tells a nice story, right? Starting with the grower's initial curiosity due to the below and above ground visual differences observed in the field, and then culminating in the positive results from both the tissue sample analysis and the final yield data. But now let's go ahead and take a look at some field trial results with LALRISE Shine DS in corn. And this is my favorite part. I love discussing field performance for any of our products, especially when we have some very exciting data to show. So following the positive results from our 2023 case study, we decided to collect tissue samples from various of our 2024 corn trials and send them to AgVise laboratories for a complete analysis, so to evaluate macro and micronutrients. And this was basically done to gain more insights into this product's performance in terms of nutrient availability or nutrient uptake and availability to the crop. So in this next slide, we have the tissue sample results for 12 trials that we conducted in Minnesota, North Dakota, and South Dakota. And as we can see on this table here, averaged across all of those 12 trial locations, leaves collected from corn plants that were treated with LALRISE Shine DS, they showed higher levels of almost all macro and micronutrients. When we look at the macronutrients in this table, what really catches my attention here is nitrogen, phosphorus, and sulfur. as their levels were increased by an average of 9, 7, and more than 12%. So we observed a strong positive performance in terms of macronutrient availability and uptake with LALRISE SHINE DS. But when we look on the right side of the table, when we look at the micronutrients, we saw an even stronger performance with LALRISE SHINE DS, including for zinc, iron, manganese, copper, and boron. And when I look at tissue sample results, I like to think about the law of minimum, right? And although LALRISE SHINE DS features a unique dual mode of action to solubilize phosphorus in the soil, that's very important. Phosphorus is the second most limiting nutrient for crop yields in general, but we could have all the phosphorus available in the world, and if we have one micronutrient that is missing, let's say if manganese was deficient, we could be preventing that crop from realizing your potential. And so when we have a product like LALRISE SHINE DS that can increase nutrient availability and nutrient uptake pretty much across the board, that's when we are increasing our chances in maximizing crop productivity, or that's when our chances to realize your potential are going to be increased. So very nice results from our tissue samples, samples that we collected from trials in 2024. For the next two slides, all we are going to see are some photos that we collected last year in the field, highlighting some visual differences that we observed with LALRISE SHINE DS compared to the check or compared to grower standard practices. In this particular trial in Prosper, North Dakota, we observed increased root biomass, enhanced lateral root formation, as well as increased stalk diameter with LALRISE SHINE DS. And as we know, stalk diameter is highly correlated with the amounts of carbohydrates and sugars that are stored within plant tissue and which will later be used to produce grain. And so some very nice visual differences on that front as well. Besides increased root biomass and increased stalk diameter, we have also observed bigger corn cobs with LALRISE SHINE DS. And when I say bigger corn cobs, I'm referring to cobs that have an increased number of kernel rows, as well as an increased number of kernels per row. And a very good example of that we saw in this trial near Hamburg, North Dakota, in which we observed that corn cobs that we collected from corn plants that were treated with LALRISE SHINE DS, they averaged 18 kernel rows per cob, while the cobs that we collected from the plants that were not treated with LALRISE SHINE DS, they averaged 16 kernel rows per cob. So nice differences in terms of root biomass, stalk diameter, as well as cob sizes. So very nice visual differences. But before we look at the overall performance of LALRISE SHINE DS across all the 40 on-farm corn trials that we have conducted in the past 2 years, I wanted to show this slide because I think it tells a very nice story. I think it's another interesting case study that we have with LALRISE SHINE DS. So in this trial that we conducted near Morris, Minnesota, LALRISE SHINE DS resulted in a 5 bushel per acre yield advantage compared to the grower standard practice, which was very nice to see, especially because this trial was placed in a field with high fertility and high organic matter levels. So basically highlighting that LALRISE SHINE DS is also able to perform very well under high yield potential conditions. But on top of that, we also observed important improvements in macro and micronutrient uptake and availability, as we can see from these tissue sample results on the left side of this slide. And what am I trying to say here? Well, when Chase was discussing the modes of action, he mentioned how LALRISE SHINE DS works by stimulating root development that leads to an increased root biomass, allowing the plants to scavenge for more water and nutrients in the soil. This product also has or also secretes or releases organic acids, enzymes into the root zone, into the rhizosphere, to make nutrients and particularly phosphorus more available to the plants. So in this slide, we can see that all those different modes of action, they are coming together, they are working together to explain why we saw these important improvements in macro and micronutrient availability and uptake, which help us explain why we saw this nice yield increase at the end of the season. A big part of our job is not only to come here and tell you, okay, this was the average performance that we've seen with LALRISE Shine DS, but also understand and relay, okay, this is what the product is doing throughout the growing season that is leading to those nice yield increments at harvest time. Now that we've looked at a specific case study, let's zoom out a little bit and look at the big picture. Let's look at how LALRISE Shine DS performed across all the 40 on-farm corn trials that we conducted over the past 2 years. So as we can see on the right side of this slide, of the 40 trials that we conducted in 2023 and 2024, LALRISE Shine DS provided a yield advantage in 33 of them. So that's a win rate of 82.5%. And in my opinion, that's very encouraging. That's very positive, very consistent, especially because we are talking about a microbial biological product that was tested across diverse environmental conditions, but then averaged across those trials, it provided an average yield advantage of 4.8 bushels per acre that was statistically significant using an alpha level of 5%. So that's very nice, but what does it tell us? Well, it tells us that this isn't just a one-time success. It's a clear pattern of consistent performance that translates to real value and strong returns to the grower. So that's what makes LALRISE Shine DS a valuable tool for maximizing crop productivity. We were very happy to see the results from these 40 on-farm corn trials. And while the numbers, they tell a very compelling story, and sometimes seeing is believing, or some people like to say a picture is worth 1,000 words, I think that this harvest map from a trial that we conducted near Gardner, North Dakota, is no exception. So as we can see on this image on the left side of this slide, the areas of the field that were treated with LALRISE Shine DS, they really stand out with more green data points indicating higher yields, while the untreated section in the middle of the field is covered with red and yellow data points representing lower yield. So I thought it would be nice to show this image here because although it's a very simple way to show the performance of Shine, I think it's a very powerful way to see the difference that this product can make in the field. I thought it would be nice to share this with all of you as well. But then a final key takeaway from our field trials is how well LALRISE Shine DS has performed against some of the other planter box treatments that are currently available on the market. So as shown in this slide, across 4 North Dakota locations, LALRISE Shine DS delivered a 2.8 bushel per acre yield advantage compared to competitor A. In 3 North Dakota trials, it was 6 bushels per acre ahead of competitor B. And in Iowa, it outperformed competitor C by 2.6 bushels per acre. So that is great. We have seen a strong positive performance with LALRISE Shine DS compared to grower standard practices. So basically no other planter box treatment. But then we have also seen a strong positive performance with LALRISE Shine DS compared to competitor products as well. And while this yield data is great, beyond yield, let's quickly talk about economics. We know that one of these competitor products that is shown here will cost the growers between $15 to $18 per acre, while LALRISE Shine DS is priced at approximately $5 to $5.50 per acre. That's a significant price difference. And when you factor in the yield advantage that we have seen with LALRISE Shine DS, the return on investment with our product becomes even more compelling. So when it comes to both performance and profitability, I'm very confident to say that based on the results that we have so far with this product, LALRISE Shine DS speaks for itself. So that's all that I had for today. I appreciate everyone's attention. Now I'm going to hand it back to Chase, who is going to discuss the trial proposal for 2025.
Thank you, Mike. I'm just going to wrap it up here with just a schematic and just to visualize, if we're going to take a look at this product on our farm, you guys know how to do split planter trials, but just wanted to throw the images up there. And primarily I wanted to share a story on my front. When we were initially working with this product, we had conducted the seed application that Mike had showed, where we just simply transferred seed from one pro box to the other. But I really wanted to see it work in equipment. And when my father-in-law, who farms here in Leeds, we got the product in, we emptied the entire shine packet on the right or left side of the planter, doesn't really matter, but completely on top of a 50-unit box of corn. We did not feather it in as we were loading that 50-unit box. I wanted it all completely on top of the seed. I then asked my father-in-law to start planting. You know, we sealed up the tanks, seed started moving through the system, fan hits the tanks, and I followed the planter, went about 10 to 20 feet. I think I walked off the headlands, and in every row unit where we had shine applied on whichever respective side that was, the product was consistently covered. So in terms of ease of application, this is a really nice way to look at and replace talc to extract more value out of your corn acre. So, you know, we know split planter trial, here's just a schematic of how you can take a look at it. You know, I always like calling the hybrids, the headlands a different hybrid. So we're just assessing our straight going pieces, and that's all this is really trying to illustrate. And ultimately, when you're looking at that, you load up a 50 box of corn and you go for 250 acres, you got a heck of a lot of replications to take a look at on your farm. And that's how our trialing program and positioning is going to be conducted moving forward. So with that, we will open it up to questions, and Adriana to close it out. And here's a map of our commercial representation for your guys' use. So thanks a lot for your time. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Thank you, Trace and Micon, for that presentation. That was great. So yes, now we will open up the floor to questions. And we do have a question that's coming from Corey. Thank you, Corey. And his question is, have you done any trials with Pivot Bio?
No, not conducted on our front. No, it's the, aside from the competitor trials that Mike and closed off our yield response, and it's simply been incorporating shine into a, you know, on top of a grower standard practice.
Joel, thank you, Joel, for your question. Best application methods for box planters?
You know, in that case, just knowing your seed that goes in each row unit. What I did for a couple of trials that we had last year is I have a pretty extensive selection of different CC protein scoops for all intents and purposes. So individually doing it, if you do want to do a split planter design, you know, I'd surely love to help you figure out how much we need for each row unit, but also potentially being able to, hopefully you guys got the visual on how we distributed that seed, is we took a bulk box and were able to maybe empty it into a tote or something like that, have just a simple transfer of one, you know, seed receptor to another was enough to get good dispersion. So if that was a possibility and you just wanted to look at shine across the board, pretty simplistic process to do that. And then you can just load your planter from there.
Okay, and we have Josh who has a question. What have you noticed for yield increase on dry corn?
In terms of harvest moisture?
Yes.
Okay.
Just a kind of saying yes.
Sure. You know, we did a half a dozen or so trials on our farm, and again, it was all split planter, same variety, and we didn't notice any discrepancies of moisture at time of harvest when we were going between treated and untreated with respect to shine. On our pinto beans, we did, but not on corn.
Oh, now he just said non-irrigated.
Oh, I'm sure the vast majority of the trials were on dryland, with the exception of maybe one in Montana. So the data set would be very representative of what the dryland acre is. Yeah.
This is from Corey. Again, it's on the Pivot Bio line. So it says, we submitted a sample of shine to our Pivot Bio rep for testing, and they said it is compatible. We are wondering about replacing the flowability agent in our dry additive feeder with shine. We'll probably do it on a trial basis this year, but was wondering if you think that would be okay.
Yeah, I think, yeah, no, I think that would be perfectly fine. Yeah. From a mechanical perspective, we know that we can forego the talc application. That was another thing I didn't bring up when we had the picture of the planter there. We did not utilize any talc in conjunction with Shine in that particular side of the CCS tank. So we remained to have talc on the untreated stuff, but we did not notice any plantability issues when just using Shine for our lubrication.
Also see James, I unmuted your mic.
So we do Pivot Bio, and we threw it over to the top of our E007, and it worked really well. My question to you guys is, are you able to reduce the amount of that 1 ounce per 100 just depending on box size? A guy who has a 1,700 pound box will pay a lot more or a lot less compared to the guy who has a 2,700 pound box. And my question is, can you go at that half ounce rate and still have the CFU count that your product, the efficacy is there?
I don't know if cutting it in half, I'd have to have my math directly in front of me to do that. But what we know, or what our math is based on with 1 ounce, is it's utilizing an average, 2,000 pounds for a box of corn. We want it to be pretty well represented, but there is some leeway there. I would not cut it to a half rate, even at smaller seeded or smaller size seed. But it could probably, I would want to sit down and do the math with you primarily to make sure that we're delivering the product that we need.
Okay, and I think I have that question from Brian here.
Okay.
What was the moisture difference in dry bean trial of Shine treated versus untreated?
It was 0.2% or 0.4, so 0.2 to 0.4% when we switched over to the Shine stuff, and that was again on the combine. We I don't know if we took samples, and even if we measured it out in the truck, but it was just a combine observation that it seemed to be a little better.
Okay, well, we will end our webinar there. We're past our time, but thank you everybody for the questions. This was wonderful. So again, if you have any further questions, you can refer to one of our sales reps who is on the screen, or you can also reach out to our general 1888 number, or also reach us at support@lallemandplantcare.com. Once again, thank you everybody for your time. Thank you, Chase and Micon, for your time as well, and have a great day.